paint even though you're blind. You can still do many things. Don't let your disability define you. You are not your disability. You are not known as the blind person. You're just like everybody else. Get out there and do anything you want to. You can. You can do anything you want to. It does not matter about your visual impairment. Go for it. Do anything. Just go for it.
Hi everyone, it's Carrie from Live Accessible, and today on the interview series I have a very special guest. She is totally blind and she is an artist and a mom. So go ahead, introduce yourself, Amanda, and tell us about your YouTube channel.
Hey everybody, I'm Amanda from the YouTube channel Amanda Ulrich, My Blind and Chronic Illness Life. On my channel, I show my life basically as a blind individual. I am completely blind. I am a blind artist. I'm a mom, Christian. I also have chronic illnesses that include fibromyalgia, which is very debilitating to me. And I show that on my channel and show my life in hopes of helping others, as well as ways to cope with those things and to help others, including technology or what have you, just anything to help. And yes, that's my channel encompasses all of that within my life, my daily life.
And definitely I will leave a link below to her channel if you guys want to check it out. Amanda, tell us a little bit more about your vision and how you lost your sight.
Yes, I was born blind in my right eye, this eye here. So I was born blind in my eye. So I have always, my whole life, been monocular. However, in March of 2018, one day I started having blurry vision in my left eye, my only good eye. I started having blurry vision. I was actually a registered nurse, so I noticed it when I was giving medications to a patient one day, and I started not being able to read the medications. So I had to hand off to another nurse, leave, and do the best I could to get to an eye doctor. And I went through quite a few eye doctors, but over the course of 4 days, very quickly, my eyesight went from blurry to losing colors to losing everything. And I remember on that last day that I had a little bit of sight, it was complete blur except for a yellow blob. And that yellow blob was actually a car at a gas station. And I remember asking the person I was with, what is that? And it's beautiful. To me, it was so beautiful because the color yellow was always my favorite color. But, and ironically, it was the last color I saw. And to me, yellow means happiness, joyful, hope, things like that. And so that was a sign to me that it's going to be okay. And the very next day, that was it. I saw nothing else.
Wow.
So what they determined happened was my optic nerves behind the eye, behind my left eye, which is why my eyes still look okay. They're not opaque or anything. Behind the eye, the nerve, it essentially had a severe attack of optic neuritis and the nerves died.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so.
Does that have anything to do with the fibromyalgia or?
No, nothing to do with the fibromyalgia, but we are still, and I know this has been since March of 2018, but we are still going through studies with neurology because I've been to a neuro-ophthalmologist. They couldn't figure it out. I've been through 5 different ophthalmologists, I think it is, and none of them could figure out the cause. We just know what happened. And So they referred me to a neurologist to try and figure out the cause. And on my first MRI, which I've had several MRIs of my brain and orbits, where my eyes are and all that, they did note that I had a mass in my left cheek here, in that left sinus, and filled with bacteria that was pushing up on my brain barrier and about to cross it. So we often wonder, did that contribute to it? But also, they noted on that brain scan that I have lesions on my brain. So,
Oh,
so we're uncertain what the cause was, but I am dealing with a neurologist, and we're going through more studies before they give me a definitive diagnosis, because it is kind of touchy, with as many symptoms as I have, that they're trying to figure out the cause of it. But essentially, the nerves are dead, and I'm permanently, completely blind. But yes, over the course of 4 days, it was all gone, all gone.
wow, that is really fast. A lot of the time, people gradually lose their sight. And after 4 days, how did you adjust to being able to see to not being able to at all?
It was, at first, it was difficult because, well, they did end up admitting me to the hospital for treatment, because sometimes for optic neuritis, if you do high dose steroids via IV or whatnot, it can help the inflammation of the optic nerve go down. But it was too late. They were too late. And it's not a definitive treatment anyway. But I remember during that hospital stay thinking, okay, I'm going to do this. This is how it's going to be. I took my iPhone, put it in a voiceover mode, and learned voiceover while I was there. I just took it and just went with it.
Mhm.
And I had to, because otherwise, if you don't accept it and you don't move on with life, I mean, what are you going to do? So I accepted it. I taught myself things, and I self taught myself everything with being blind, and just did it. I just went for it and did it. And yes, I did have depression. Yes, I did go through that, because I was very active as a nurse, and all of a sudden that was ripped away from me. And my daughter was 5 at the time, and she's 7 now, but she was 5 years old. And the thought of never seeing my daughter again, that brought a depression on me. But I ended up just stating, and this took me almost a year, I'm not lying, till February of this year, 2019, till February, almost a year, to completely and wholly accept it and be like, okay, this is it, and I'm going to run with it, and I'm going to help others while I'm doing it. And that's what I did. But yes, depression was my first thing I went through, which I think most people can relate to when you lose your vision suddenly. But
Mhm. Yeah,
it,
absolutely. You've really transitioned and adjusted very well. I mean, um, even when you are born visually impaired or totally blind, there comes a point where you realize what you don't have. And I think that anybody can and does go through that phase where they really need to kind of just accept it and move on, because if you don't, like you said, there's no way to get through life in a good and positive way. And you are a testament to how you can pick up the pieces and keep going.
thank you. You just have to. You just have to. And
And
Yeah, I mean, that it did take me 11 months for the complete and whole acceptance, but during those 11 months, I was slowly accepting it.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about your painting. I've seen a lot of the artwork that you've done on
Yeah.
YouTube, and I know that you um, do that. And I'm wondering if you were already painting before you were blind and how you adjusted to art um, after becoming blind.
It was difficult for me to accept my blindness and such because, yes, in it, I had to accept that I couldn't paint anymore. I thought. I was an artist before. I painted landscapes, acrylic landscapes, big portrait landscapes, outdoors. That was my theme. I was also a photographer. I did photography at the outdoors of animals. I have a lot of photography of butterflies,
Hmm.
things like that. I used to do before I went blind. And when I lost my sight, that was part of the depression that I had to, I thought, accept as well as, oh, I can't paint anymore. Well, no, that's not true. Anything that a sighted person can do, truly, a blind person can do. You just have to find a different way.
Hmm.
And so what I did was discovered acrylic pour paintings, which I actually had done some before I went blind and just didn't. I was better at landscape painting, so I didn't do it as much. So I decided, okay, I'm going to paint again. So I started experimenting. I just went for it. And when I say I went for it, I went for it. I painted probably, and this is just since February. In February, when I accepted my blindness fully, I said, "Okay, life, we're going to do this." So in February, I started painting again. I painted probably over 200 canvases, and um, when I say I went for it, I did. I think I've got some hanging behind me here. I don't know. If you could see, I don't know. But yes, I just went for it, and I do different styles, different kinds. And on my YouTube channel, I do tutorials. I show that a blind person can paint. I explain everything verbally so that it is understood, and I show, hey, nothing's going to stop anybody from doing anything. I mean, you can still paint even though you're blind. You can still do many things. And for me, painting was my, like, I can do this. This is I'm I'm doing this. And I did. And I've painted so much. And I give them to people or barter and things like that. Or I have a closet full of paintings.
I'd love to go and raid that closet.
I have a closet full of
Yeah,
paintings, and some on the walls, like everywhere in the house. It's
it's
just,
beautiful. It's beautiful. And I love how you ask your viewers and your audience to describe them for you because, and I noticed too that everybody sees something different or takes away something different, and it's just beautiful.
yes, I cannot do, which I know blind artists who can, but I personally cannot do the same landscape, intricate portrait type paintings that I used to do. So these are abstract, and with abstract paintings, everybody sees something different, and I love it. And in a lot of my videos at the end, I'll have my little girl come in and describe them for me and for my blind viewers, what she sees. And then I always reference the comments because it's amazing how many different things people see in an abstract painting. And it's about the feeling of the painting too, because I had feeling of something when I painted each one of these paintings, and they each mean something to me. And it's interesting how some people pick that out. They're like, you
Hmm.
were very, very happy when you painted this. I can tell. And I'm like, I was. And then some of them, they'll say, oh my, you were angry when you painted this. And I'm like, yes, I was. Because painting's an outlet too. So,
Yeah.
yes.
Wow. And
Yes.
actually this morning, it had nothing to do really with the interview today, but I was sharing with a neighbor of ours. I don't know if you've heard of him, and I can't remember his name, but he was totally blind at birth. His name is Esrif Armagan. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but he was totally blind since birth, and so these scientists took him to this architecturally tricky building. It's a baptistry that's like kind of the perspective on it is kind of difficult to draw or to paint or anything, and it's like the how do I describe this? The walls are angled, and so each of the corners are angled. So though it kind of it's like octagonal, I believe, and it goes all the way up. So and just by like a model and feeling the building, he was able to capture the perspective, and it showed that when like in an MRI, that when he was thinking about painting or art or like perspective and distance and everything, that things that the scientists thought were completely visual, the part of the brain was actually lighting up and working even though he was totally blind.
Oh, that is so interesting. I don't know him, but I'm going to definitely look that up. And I kind of understand that because I always called it my mind map, or my, like, I always say, I can't see, but I can. I
Mhm.
can't see, but I have vision, as in my mind. So I know what I want to put on my canvas. I know exactly what I want. I know the exact colors. I know the way I want it to flow. I know exactly what I want and have in my mind. And when I asked my daughter if it turned out that way, 8 times out of 10, it did. And the only reason the other 2 times it didn't is because a composition with the paint, maybe I mixed wrong or something like that. But um, yes, I visualize it in my mind. I see it, but I don't
Yeah.
see
So
it.
I'm sure that if they did an MRI on your brain while you were painting, all those visual cortexes or whatever would be lighting up.
During one of my 7 MRIs this past year, we should have just done that. Run that in there. Why not? Yes.
Oh my goodness. But I think that definitely check out Amanda's paintings because they're just beautiful. And you also do other videos and about blindness, about chronic illness, and you
Yes.
are also a mom that you've mentioned of a 7-year-old, right?
Yes, she's 7 now, growing up too fast, but yes. I I have found ways again to care for her. To I totally take care of her on most days. It's just something that you have to learn. And she too, I think children, as I've said this before, like to kind of people, are more receptive to adapting to things. And she didn't see anything different with mommy when I was when she was 5 years old and I went blind. She actually never even acknowledged it. And
Really? Hmm.
yes, she's just gone with it. And so she just adapted so well. And I take care of her fine. And if I, like, say I'm walking and the cat is laying on the floor in front of me, she'll Layla will say, "Mommy, stop! The cat's there." And I'll say, "Okay." So she knows, but she never acknowledged it. It's a little bit different, but she's a very good child, and I'm very blessed. And yes, I totally take care of her, and we have a closet organization system for her clothes, and she understands that she has to keep things in certain places. And being blind, you have to do that. I mean, you can't just throw things around, because
Oh
I
yeah,
would get
absolutely.
I would get completely confused. But she knows that, and just thinks of it as, I mean, and it is our normal. I don't use the word normal, but it's our normal.
Yeah, and it's really funny that you mentioned about the cat, like, saying, "Mommy, stop," because little Pablo, is 2.5 now, and he's already like picking up, copying me, and I tell Big Pablo, my husband, that, "Oh wait, stop! Be careful. There's a big mess here on the floor of toys." Or so little Pablo will say, "Dada, stop!" Or, "Don't go to the kitchen because mommy's cleaning," or something. I don't know.
That
And
is
it's
so
it's
cute.
amazing how they just pick up and they adapt, and I think that it's easier for them in some ways to adapt than, older people.
That is very true. Yes.
So, how do you do with society's um, perception of you as a blind artist and as a blind mom and just as a blind person in general?
Well, as far as society, see, I mean, most people are like, "Oh my goodness, you can paint and you're blind." They're shocked. And so I'm more like, "Yeah, why not?" Because to me it's like I just do it, and I'm like, "Yeah, I can paint." So I usually just kind of say, "Yes, I'm a mom and I can paint," and that's something that a lot of blind people do. And blind people can do things that a lot of people don't think they can. And then I go into my education spill, um, and teach, that we can, as blind and visually impaired people, do anything we want to. And it's true, we can do anything we want to. We may have to do it in a different way, but we can. And with society coming at me like that, I usually go into that sort of education spiel. And as far as me going out into society, um, I I have a little bit of an issue with that. I don't like to go out into public places. Really, the noise and the sound is just overwhelming for me. I do use my white cane when going. I go to the hospital and doctor's appointments a lot, a
Mhm.
lot. So I'm used to that. And I do I don't worry about really what other people think, as far as that goes, but I don't really go out into society as far as public places, because of the noise is overwhelming. And I do have agoraphobia. I don't like going. I have social anxiety, that sort of thing. Um,
Mhm.
but as far as people confronting me, like my family and stuff, about my paintings and being a mom, I'm like, "Yeah, that can be done." Yeah. So,
Yes, and so my next question is something that I like to ask everybody that we interview, and is, what kind of encouragement or advice would you give somebody who is blind, visually impaired, or losing their sight?
definitely don't think that your life is over or that it's the end or that you can't do things. I mean, I've said this a gazillion times, but don't let your disability define you. You are not your disability. You are not known as the blind person. You're just like everybody else. Get out there and do anything you want to. You can. You can do anything you want to. It does not matter about your visual impairment. Go for it. Do anything. Just go for it.
Awesome. That is perfect. And that's kind of our slogan, like blindness or low vision does not define and does not limit you. So that's perfect. And I mean, look at how many people there are that are artists and filmmakers and doctors even. And I saw a YouTube video about, somebody blind flying a plane. And I mean,
Oh my gosh, really?
yes, yes. I mean, they had assistants and technology, but they were still the pilot,
Yes.
and
There you
so
go.
so you can do anything you want. There are people that are
Exactly.
business owners, there are people that are programmers, there's scientists, there's all sorts of people that are doing so many different things. And so whatever your vision is, whatever your disability is, you can.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Well, Amanda, is there any last things that you want to share to the audience?
Just treat everybody kind, no matter what. I mean, just because someone is blind or because they're visually impaired, treat them the same as you anyone else. But keep in mind, communication is key. But treat them the same. I mean, we're no different than you or anyone else. And if you are blind or visually impaired, don't let yourself think you are. You can do anything. Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Amanda, for joining us. Again, make sure to check out her channel, which I will link right up here. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, which you can do by tapping here. And you can watch another video in the interview series. Click or tap right here. And thank you again, Amanda. And thank you to everybody watching this. And we will see you in the next one.